So it is Friday night, steak night, waiting for my steak to rest, and I'm opening one of the wines I got from Princeton Corkscrew, the Chateau Ferrand from Pomerol, Right Bank Bordeaux 2020. And I typically stay away from wines that have these little score stickers, and this store specifically doesn't really do scores. Actually, they don't do scores, nor what they call shelf talkers. The whole store is actually cellar temperature. I've probably spoken about it before, which is why I really like it. I believe most of the wines in there are carefully curated for the wine drinker, maybe the slightly more educated wine drinker, although they hand sell tons. So you could be a novice, you could be an expert, and I think you'll find something in that store, which is great. It is one of my favorite wine stores. And there's no beer and very limited spirits, but mostly wine and a fair bit of fortified wines. So that's the wine for tonight. I don't remember the denomination. I'm assuming this is mostly Merlot, as most, and some Cab Franc, which is how the Right Bank, those are the two major grapes of the Right Bank. Pomerol, pretty sure, has clay soil. Well, Saint-Emilion, which is over in the Right Bank, I think Pomerol's within there, if I got all my history correct, and my wine education correct, and clay-heavy soils, which does well with Merlot and Cab Franc, where on the left bank it's more gravel, which does better with Cabernet in Bordeaux. So this doesn't look super, super dark or concentrated. I don't know what the percent alcohol is. 14, but the aromas are amazing. There's definitely a rusticity, but there's red plum, there's cedar, there's some there's like a darker cherry aroma in here too, but there's a lot coming out of it. It's like a very large bouquet. As soon as I pop the cork, I could smell it, and it's not been decanting very long at all. I've not been doing a great job at giving my wines a good hour decant, but that does bring their temperature up a little higher than I would want, because it's coming right from my wine fridge to a decanter. Then it kind of sits downstairs in about a 68 to 70 degree temperature. Well, tannins are really present. Oh yeah, this feels like a baby because there's so much tannin. It's good acidity. This will go well with a steak. The steak will actually soften the tannin on the palate. That's where food can soften the wine as well and make the wine taste better, as well as wine can make food taste better, especially if there's a good bit of acid in a wine and there's fat in the food. It'll accentuate it. It's like the little bit of the salt for the food. This is great though. When this was on sale for 10% off, was 42. So this is just under 50. So you get what you pay for, I think, here, especially Pomerol, which is a pretty well-known reason. One of the most expensive wines in Bordeaux, if not the most expensive one in Bordeaux, is 100% Merlot from Pomerol called Chateau Petrus. So I've never had it. I think it retails for $5,000 or $6,000 each year. But it pales in comparison to the cost of what Burgundy now costs. Red Burgundy specifically, especially from DRC, Domaine de la Romanée Conti, are in the tens of thousands now. I think it starts like at 10,000. So, and they go up from there, 15, 20. Super expensive. But that's because the land is allocated and there's a supply and demand. Now, the wine isn't great. It's supposed to be the best Pinots in the world, but the land is limited. You can't just expand Burgundy. On this property, they could buy more neighboring property and expand and make more, and then decide to do whatever they choose to with their price. So price sometimes is a derivative of supply and demand there. Well, in most cases, to follow any economics, but yes, even more so when it comes to Burgundy, because it's highly allocated. There's only so much they're going to produce in certain years. It's a really good wine. Last time I had that Bordeaux, I forget the name of it now, Le Grand, something like that. It's night 2. It wasn't, the wine did not get better over the course of the night, unfortunately. And the second night, it wasn't any better. It was just an okay wine. This right off the bat is way better. I believe this will actually get better as the night goes on. I think it's going to pair amazing with this porterhouse. So I'm not concerned about this wine at all. I think this will be pretty awesome. It's a little bit of an irony thing, and it probably sounds odd, but it's not metallic, but a little bit of a minerally irony taste to this wine also, which is a good thing. It probably indicates a little bit more of a higher quality wine, better tasting wine, although the tasting note of irony and minerally doesn't sound fantastic. It is a characteristic that is desired in good wine, fine wine. So, just looking at a wine to my right that I've not refrigerated, but I want to try soon. This 2004 Riesling that I bought from, that is Spotlese? Yeah, Spotlese. Preparing a duck dish, duck 3 ways on Sunday. Duck breast with an orange gastrique, a duck confit, and foie gras with a blackberry sort of sauce with the foie gras, and blackberry balsamic type of thing, just something to cut a little of the fat of the foie gras. And debating on what kind of wine to pair with that type of trio. Classic pairing of foie gras is supposed to be Sauterne, super sweet wine. I always feel like I get why, and people swear by it. What I don't like about it is foie gras to me is like an appetizer, and you're gonna have a super sweet wine, and then you're gonna introduce a dry wine, and then that dry wine will taste more bitter because you just had a sweet wine. It's gonna screw up your palate. So I never understand how people can incorporate that foie gras with Sauterne. Unless you're having foie gras for dessert, which I wouldn't mind. I would actually love a foie gras for dessert, but never really seen that. So I have no issue drinking a nice red wine with duck. Just I don't want it to be overly heavy. Kind of want to have some acidity to it. So I'm not quite sure which direction I'm going to go. Could easily go Italy and Barolo. I have some other wines in mind. Easily could go Brunello. Sangiovese at sort of the utmost quality of Brunello. But we shall see. So I'll enjoy this wine over the course of the evening. And with the steak, I do believe it'll evolve well. I would definitely buy this again. I guess what I also really like about this, it's concentrated in its aromas and flavors, but it's not heavy at all. It absolutely screams Bordeaux, though. Would I get it in a blind tasting? Who the heck knows? But it definitely screams Bordeaux to me. And it's a little more restrained, not overly extracted. I think what I read is they really don't use a lot of new oak. That's obvious here to me. They're really letting the grapes speak for themselves and be what they are. And they probably don't over extract. They probably are trying to keep this a little bit more, light and lively is the wrong term, acidic. The word fresh comes up a lot. I guess it does have a certain amount of freshness to it where it's not going to fatigue your palate because it's so heavy. Although those wines can be good and decadent, there's only so much of a decadent meal you can have without it giving you like a palate fatigue or even a stomach cramp. Something like a Wagyu A5 is a very decadent meal, but if you eat too much of it, you will absolutely feel it. I think the same thing goes with like a super dark concentrated chocolate that tastes good for a few bites, but you really don't want to eat too much of it. You only want to eat it in small bits just because of how intense it can be. This I feel like I could drink a good bit of because it's more medium plus bodied, not full bodied. The tannins are there though. And then all the aromas and flavors are all fantastic. I think I just really, really like this wine. That's what I'm trying to say. Pretty simple. Really like this. I think it's going to evolve I can't wait to try it later in about an hour or two. Maybe with a little bit of cheese, maybe not, because my steak is huge. Definitely going to have some tomorrow, probably. Maybe even the day after. And I think it's going to be, see that mineral, I'm just getting that minerally irony. It's an aftertaste. It's definitely on the finish. It just hit me as I was just talking. That could be off-putting to some, but I think it's pretty cool and just adds another dimension to this wine to make it even that much better. Good stuff. Always be exploring, I guess, right? I guess that is sort of my take on food and wine, two of my favorite things. Combine them together is probably one of my top 5 things, is to pair and drink wine with great food, cooked or prepared for me. Have a good night.